Do you know there's a question that has puzzled psychologists for an entire century? Why do some people live fulfilling, meaningful lives while others constantly feel lost and empty? Today, I want to share with you a shocking discovery. This answer doesn't come from just one psychologist, but from the collective insights of generations of psychological masters. From Carl Jung to Abraham Maslow, from Carl Rogers to Viktor Frankl, they all point to the same truth. Life doesn't truly begin until you find yourself. But here's the problem. If finding yourself is so important, why have most people never truly achieved it? More importantly, how do we begin this journey? In the next 25 minutes, we'll explore this question together. I'll share with you insights that could change your life's trajectory, methods you can start practicing today, and an amazing truth about human potential. Let me first ask you a question. Have you ever had a moment standing in front of a mirror, looking at yourself, yet feeling like you're looking at a stranger? This feeling is more common than you might think. Psychologist Carl Rogers wrote in his classic work, On Becoming a Person, most people are not themselves, but rather what others want them to be. This might sound harsh, but let's be honest. From childhood, we're taught to fit in, to conform, to be realistic. We learn to wear various masks, one way at home, another at school, and yet another at work. Jung called these masks persona. He said, the persona is the role we play in public, but the danger lies in believing we are that role. Imagine this scenario. A young man is told from childhood to be strong, not to cry, not to show vulnerability. Over time, he learns to suppress emotions, becoming cold and distant. By age 30, he finds himself unable to form deep connections with others, not even knowing what he truly wants. This is the cost of losing oneself. Abraham Maslow, the father of humanistic psychology, after studying thousands of cases, found that those who felt most unhappy often shared a common trait. They lived according to others' expectations rather than their own authentic needs. Maslow said, if you deliberately plan to be less than you are capable of being, then I warn you that you'll be deeply unhappy. So, what is the true self? This isn't a philosophical question, but a psychological one that can be explored through scientific methods. Let's start with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You've probably heard of this theory. From basic physiological needs to safety needs, then belonging, esteem needs, and finally self-actualization. But here's a detail many people don't know. In his later years, Maslow revised his theory, adding another layer above self-actualization, self-transcendence. He discovered that truly happy people not only actualize themselves, but also transcend the small self, connecting to greater meaning and purpose. This discovery aligns perfectly with Jung's individuation theory. Jung believed individuation isn't about becoming a perfect person, but a complete person, accepting both light and shadow aspects of oneself, integrating all internal conflicts. But let's be more specific. Psychologist Carl Rogers, through decades of clinical practice, identified several characteristics of the authentic self. First, self-acceptance. Rogers said, accepting your own strangeness is the first step to becoming your authentic self. Second, internal congruence. Your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are consistent, not fragmented. Third, autonomy. Your choices come from internal values, not external pressures. This sounds ideal, but how do we achieve it in reality?
Here I want to share a concept that might make you uncomfortable, but is extremely important. Shadow integration. Jung discovered that each of us has a shadow, those parts of ourselves we don't want to acknowledge and try hard to hide. It could be anger, jealousy, fear, or desires and impulses we consider inappropriate. Most people try to eliminate the shadow, but Jung's insight was revolutionary. The shadow is not an enemy to be eliminated, but a force to be integrated. Let me give you an example. A successful entrepreneur once told me his biggest breakthrough came from acknowledging his inner fears. He said, I always tried to appear fearless, but when I acknowledged and accepted my fears, I actually became braver, because I no longer needed to spend energy hiding them. This aligns perfectly with modern neuroscience findings. When we suppress certain emotions or thoughts, the brain consumes enormous energy to maintain that suppression. When we accept and integrate these parts, that energy is released for creativity and growth. Psychologist Daniel Siegel found in his research that people who can integrate internal conflicts have stronger neural plasticity, better learning abilities, and stronger emotional regulation. But how do we integrate the shadow? Jung provided a simple yet powerful method: projection retrieval. Notice people or behaviors that strongly repel you. Ask yourself, does this trait also exist within me? Not to judge yourself, but to observe honestly. Frankl wrote in Man's Search for Meaning, "When we stop avoiding pain and start facing it, we find the path to freedom." Now let's discuss a deeper question: the meaning of life. Viktor Frankl, the psychologist who survived Nazi concentration camps, gave us profound insight about meaning. He said, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing: the freedom to choose one's attitude in any given circumstances." Frankl discovered that those who maintained hope in extreme circumstances all shared one trait: they found meaning that transcended personal suffering. This discovery completely changed the direction of psychotherapy. Traditional psychology focused on why people suffer, while Frankl focused on how people find meaning in suffering. But here's an important distinction: meaning is not discovered, but created. Let me share a true story. A woman lost her job and got divorced at 40, feeling life was meaningless. But during volunteer work, she discovered she was particularly good at helping traumatized children. She realized her painful experiences enabled her to better understand and help these children. She said, "My pain wasn't wasted. It became my tool for helping others." This is what Frankl called meaning-making. We're not searching for a predetermined life purpose, but creating our own meaning. Psychologist Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, in studying flow states, found that when people are fully engaged in meaningful activities, they experience the deepest satisfaction. He said, "Happiness is not something that happens. It must be prepared for, cultivated, and defended." Now, let's explore the final and most profound level: transcendent awakening. In his final years, Maslow discovered a surprising phenomenon. Those who truly self-actualize often naturally transcend personal needs, turning towards serving others and society. He wrote, "Self-actualizing people are not selfish. On the contrary, they are the most selfless. Because when you truly find yourself, you discover you are connected to the entire world." This insight aligns with ancient wisdom traditions. Buddhism speaks of no self, Christianity of self-sacrifice, all pointing to the same truth. The true self is not an isolated individual, but consciousness, connected to all existence. Modern neuroscience also supports this view. Research shows that when people meditate or engage in deep introspection, brain regions responsible for self-boundaries become less active, and people experience deep connection with the surrounding world. Psychologist Ken Wilber, in his Integral Theory, proposes that human consciousness develops through stages, from egocentric to sociocentric to world-centric to cosmocentric. This doesn't mean losing individuality, but recognizing our deep connection to all life while maintaining uniqueness. Friend, our exploration is coming to an end, but your journey is just beginning. Remember Jung's words: "Your vision becomes clear when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakens." Life truly begins when you find yourself. Not finding a perfect self, but finding a complete, authentic, meaningful self. This journey won't always be easy, but it's absolutely worth it. Because at the end of this journey, what awaits you is not just a better self, but a more meaningful, connected, and loving life. Your authentic life is waiting for you.